The Pacers want a starting center. No duh. Who should it be and why? And what other reports have we gotten about Pacers targets? Plus, Rick Carlisle approaches win 1,000. Philip Rivers on the Colts. What would be the Pacers equivalent of that? And is this Pacers 4-2 run real? Or has their schedule been soft? Derek Schultz and I debate all of that today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, Derek Schultz of many indie places, the IBJ, Query and Schultz, Locked On Colts Squad Show, is going to join us again to talk about this season to this point, but more importantly, some big picture stuff going on during this cup break, including two reports this week about the Pacers and their center hopes / plans for the trade deadline, including just generally wanting one, and specifically Daniel Gafford. Rick Carlisle's next win will be 1,000. We opine about his career and what that means for him. The Pacers are 4-2 in their last 6 games. Is that a real thing? Or has their schedule just been soft for the 6-game stretch? And Philip Rivers is on the Colts. What would be the Pacers equivalent of such a move happening? Really fun discussion with Derek Schultz. Let's just get right to it. The NBA Cup break continues, but this man never takes a break. It's Derek Schultz of many, many places in the indie community, including the IBJ, the Locked On Colts Squad Show, and Query and Company every single week with Jay Query. Derek, hello. You were supposed to have no time to watch the Pacers in the next 8 days because they barely play. Instead, you have to talk about them with me. How are you?
Always excited to join the show, Tony. I always get, when I get that ping on my phone and I look down and I see Tony E, I get super geeked up about it. So happy to be here.
Sometimes I feel bad because I'm like, half the time I'm texting people, I'm like, hey, can you volunteer your time for me? So at least it's not so bad, right?
Hey, I have to do the same thing, with some of the shows that I do too. So I totally get it, man.
Anyway, the Pacers are playing well-ish right now. Is it because of their schedule? Is it because they're actually playing well? Philip Rivers is on the Colts. We're going to find a Pacer to get the perfect comp for that happening to them right now. Rick Carlisle is approaching 1,000 wins. A ton of fun stuff to talk about. But Derek, it's here. December 15th is 4 days away when this episode comes out. That's the unofficial start of trade season. Several of the buzzy rumors posts have come out in recent days. We'll start generally on ESPN via Shams Charania's Inside Pass, because this is connected to the other thing we're going to talk about today, who very succinctly covered the Pacers via his inside information in one sentence. The Pacers are in active trade talks around the league to find a center of the future after losing Miles Turner in free agency, sources said. Derek, duh, right? Duh.
Talk about a tease, huh? It's like, yeah, and is there anything more that you want to throw out there? No, I mean, I don't think this is a surprise to anybody in the listening audience as well. They've done this by committee deal with Jay Huff and Isaiah Jackson. And while I actually have been, I think Jay Huff has been maybe slightly even better than I thought. Isaiah Jackson he's a backup NBA big. I mean, that's I think what he's going to remain. I don't think there's anything else there. And that's fine. Like it's perfectly fine to be he's a perfectly capable NBA player. He's just, I don't think an NBA starter at that position. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the Pacers are sniffing around at that spot. I think deep down they sort of knew that they were, I don't want to say punting on the spot. I don't think, they're not tanking right or anything like that. But I think that they knew that this committee thing was just going to be kind of a temporary solve, and they're going to try to fix it down the line.
Yeah, I think they peak hope, one of them of the Huff Jackson duo would be like, oh, maybe they're a starter, and really believed or prepared for the fact that those two were competing to be the backup for whoever they eventually get, right? Which is fair. Like, that's what you should do when you're kind of reshaping your position because you lose some guys from last year, Miles and Thomas Bryant. And early Huff was bad, right? He was almost out of the rotation. They played in Golden State. I think people forgot this. Like, he played 3 minutes at the end of the game. That's it. Like, he almost literally got a DNP early in the season. He played 8 minutes in Detroit. Like, Tony Bradley was starting games. Jackson was the backup. 11 minutes in Utah in a game that they got blasted. He would have played less than that without garbage time. And then the Charlotte game happens where he's just on fire and blocking everything. And since then, he's been a monster, like a complete terror. Since then, he's at 25 minutes a game, shooting 37% from three, averaging 11 points and 3.5 blocks a game. Sweet, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. Now, here's the thing. His big minute games have featured like a 1-for-5 night that he just had, for example. Against the Kings, there's a 2-for-9 in there. There's a 3-for-8 in there. There's a 1-for-6 in there. The defense has been mostly steady, but I think it's clear that big minutes, he's probably not a starter. He's certainly something, but he's probably not a starter. And Jackson has played better of late with the second unit. So, yeah, they're both backups. It's fine. I think this was clear going into the season. The real question is, how do they do it? Because they're going to be expensive. Who's the right guy? Did they do it this year? Did they do it next offseason? Right? The fact that they would do it now, it depends on who they get, but maybe it suggests they still want to do something of note this year. But it also could just be like, we want to see this guy play with our current core before we do what we need to do this year. You know, there's a lot of timing elements to it, but yeah, it's one of those reports. It's like, okay, I mean, this is obviously good to know, but I think we already kind of knew that this was going to be coming. Is it going to come for February or in June is the more pertinent question with this, which we'll get to with the second report about this team. Okay, sorry, I lost my tabs. That would be Jake Fisher in the Stein line. We've had our first connected center, speaking of centers, to the Pacers. The first two trade rumor connections for this team were guards, Keon Ellis and Jose Alvarado. Of course, the Pacers had no guards for like 2 weeks to start the season. Jake Fisher in the Stein line says Turner's old team in Indiana is expected to shop the in-season trade market for big men and likewise believed to hold interest in Dallas Mavericks center Daniel Gafford as a potential pick-and-roll lob threat for Tyrese Haliburton. Returns from an Achilles tear. Derek, do you have any Daniel Gafford thoughts? Do you believe in this idea for the Pacers before we dive more into this?
Yeah, I mean, he's a solid player. I don't know if that's exactly something that's going to send any shockwaves through the Pacers fan base. I think he's better than their current options. You know, he's a guy that you know kind of lives in the paint and all of that, and he doesn't necessarily need the basketball. So I think that can be good too with some other players that need the ball in the Pacers offense. But that doesn't excite me as much as say like Walker Kessler or some of these other names that while they may not have been officially thrown out, could be out there for the taking, given the circumstances that surround those teams.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Gafford is clearly good. Like he was a starting center for a finals team 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right? That did happen for Dallas. He makes just over the mid-level exception. So they can't take him into their trade exception for Haliburton for many reasons. They can't take him in to the mid-level this year. And he starts an extension next year that's very reasonable. 3 years, $54 million. That is the max extension he could get and still be traded mid-season this year, which obviously always makes you go, what are the Mavericks thinking as they do this very obviously down to the number kind of transaction. So you'd be getting him for really like 4 years, 68. He is a good player, right? He sets hard screens. He gets into space around the basket. He's a good finisher. He's an improved defender. Many teams have tried to have Daniel Gafford and liked him, and then he gets a bigger role. That happened with the Bulls. That happened with the Wizards. That is now happening with the Dallas Mavericks. He's also been kind of banged up a lot in his career. He has taken 1-3, I believe, in his entire career, like 2. He's not really a floor spacer. He's an okay, I would say above average, but defensive player. He's a good player. He is a starting caliber center. I think the Pacers would be like, sweet. But I do think that you are right that the more appealing yet less attainable options would be the currently young and good guys who can both grow with the Pacers in their 2-3 year window after this year, whatever it may be, but are also still young and are also, still talented and can help them win right away because they cannot go into next year with a draft pick or a non-ready-to-go center as their center. Like, they're going to be trying to be winning right away. So that's why, Gafford might be the line. If you're Daniel Gafford or better, great. You can start for the Pacers at center.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Anybody worse than that doesn't make sense. So these young guys have to be at least as good as him.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And you got to talk about the value proposition of that too. What you would have to give up for him would be less than what you would have to give up for some of these other options that we might end up talking about here. And the contract is reasonable too. If you're just thinking about trading and, a pick and I don't know, Obi's deal or something. You know what I mean? I'm just spitballing, but I'm just throwing some things out there. There's some things that probably that can make sense for them. But you're right. Just the fact that he's been, a guy that's still in the prime of his career too. He's not on the young side, but he's not on the old side either. So I think that could be beneficial for a team that will be, I'm assuming, ready to hit the ground running once Haliburton gets back healthy for 26-27.
His current contract takes him through age 30. That's great. Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. No issue. Yeah, no fear of, he fell apart all of a sudden, outside of the fact that he has been a little bit banged up. Of course, the backup for Gafford / should have been starter / sometimes did start is Derek Lively, who's good and young. And Walker Kessler is going to be a popular option. And I keep hearing this take, Derek. It's, well, they're perfect. They're young and talented, and they're both out for the year. Perfect for the Pacers and their outlook for the season. I'm like, yeah, that's also perfect for the Jazz and the Mavs, who also suck. Like, that actually kind of makes it harder for me to conceptualize a trade, unless, of course, those teams don't want, like in Kessler's case, he's a free agent next year. Maybe the Jazz don't want to pay him, but it's like, that's not this huge advantage unique to the Pacers. The teams they're on also like that about these guys at the moment. Unfortunately, it's the reality. So it's all going to be tricky and endlessly fascinating. But the Jazz are, the other thing with the Jazz that I see a lot of is like, oh, trading with Danny Ainge is so horrible. I'm like, is it? Like, a lot of his recent year trades are not that great. Like, he certainly is good at trading stars, but in general, I don't know. I feel like that's a little overblown as well.
Yeah, and I still think you're, even though these teams are in the position that they are, these players you're still somewhat buying low, right?
Yes, that'd be the hope.
We're still projecting out what Walker Kessler is going to be. He's still a very young player, and the Jazz know that. They're not stupid, but at the same time, it's not like he's in the middle of having a really good season right now, and they're not interested in paying him, and they're looking to offload him. So I think that could be an advantage for the Pacers too in this market.
Like, all the reasons you, the fan, want that player on the Pacers is the same reason the team they're currently on also wants them on their team and makes them harder to get. But that's life, and that's why trades happen in the NBA. Everybody, quick breaks. We can talk about two groups of people. First up is Game Time. The World Cup is coming to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be huge. But let's be honest, getting tickets is the hard part. That's where the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage. When it comes to snagging seats with Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You just pull up the app. Their layout makes it simple to scroll through matchups. You can pick your seat view. You can see the all-in price with no hidden fees at the end. You'll see what the pitch looks like. You'll get alerts for matches that you want to grab tickets for the moment that price drops. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets, every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Game Time. I also have to tell you guys about Quo. New systems. And it is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of running a business and think there has to be a better way. There is. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. If you're ready to take your workday and make it smoother and keep customers connected without the headaches, Quo makes upgrading your setup easier than ever. They have a streamlined system that makes a big difference when communicating with customers. Calls, text, voicemails in one clean view to keep everything organized. You can stay responsive. You can share everything on one team number, so it's making sure nothing gets missed. They have AI summaries and call logging that are super helpful. It's like having another assistant. It's surprisingly easy. Works on your phone or your computer. You can keep your existing number, add teammates in minutes. So make this year the year where no opportunity and customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Hard pivot, Derek Schultz. Rick Carlisle's current win total is 999. His next win, whether it's Friday or Sunday or whenever it comes this season, will be 1,000. That's crazy. I was thinking about this today. If you go 500 for 20 seasons, you're not close. You're not even at 900 yet. Like, that's an insane number of wins. And the 10 other coaches have already done it. Like, he'll be the 11th to do it when it inevitably happens. That is wildly impressive. And that, like, when I thought through that math, that's when it really hit me, like, how crazy this was. Like, when we were talking to Jarris Walker about it at practice, He's had 3 years in the NBA. That's not even 250 games. Like, how do you get to 1,000 wins? It's almost hard to fathom when I thought about it.
Yeah, it's an incredible accomplishment. I looked at the list, and I think only 10 guys have done it ever. That's pretty crazy when you get into that category, when you're talking about, being the 11th guy to win. And obviously it's all the names, Pop and Phil Jackson and Pat Riley and Jerry Sloan and, some of the real legends, Larry Brown, some of the real legends of the profession. This may be the worst comp ever on your show. I've always I was trying to think about this and like Rick Carlisle is like, we've respected him, I think, for a while because of the Pacers lineage, and we saw him very early, and now we're getting him again. But I don't think nationally until the finals run or the conference finals run and then the finals run the last 2 years that people were like, oh yeah, Rick Carlisle's like really good at this. He almost strikes me as like a Matt Stafford type, where I think, Matthew Stafford, now we're realizing, oh my God, like this guy's actually had a really good career and is a really, really excellent player. And, I think people that are in the know in the NBA have known for a long time that Rick Carlisle is a Hall of Fame coach and a great coach. But it's great to be seeing him kind of get his flowers for the Pacers team success. I mean, this situation that he was airdropped into wasn't exactly an easy situation here. No. This team was stuck, man. Like they were worse than stuck. And they've just gotten better and better and better. And look, I know this year kind of is what it is as far as the injuries and all of that as well. But, there's no reason to think that there's still not even more to come from a Rick Carlisle led Pacers team. So good for him, 1,000 win mark. And I don't feel like he's ready to walk away anytime soon either.
Yeah, I don't either. And it speaks to a lot of things about Rick. One is what players have said forever is like, he is very good at, Rick, here are your resources. Make the best product possible, right? Make this team as good as possible. And for a lot of guys who coach long enough that they, in theory, could reach several hundred to 1,000 wins, at some point, their, what they believe in about the game or what they were good at as a player about the game or whatever, the game passes them by. And they're unable to eventually adapt to the things that they need to do to make their team as good as possible with the resources given. I would like to use an ex-Pacer as a great example of this. Nate McMillan won 760 games. He might win more. He might coach again. Who knows? He was a great coach. But by the end of Nate McMillan, the coach, it became clear that like he was outdated in his offensive styles, right? It just didn't work for what the NBA was becoming. And then the same thing happened with the Hawks, and now he hasn't really coached since, right? That happens to a lot of people. That has not happened to Rick Carlisle, who coached a post-up style team, even with Luka and Dirk, who figured out what Dirk's strengths were, who built a crazy defense out of nowhere, who built great offense out of nowhere, and has done it with three, but really 2 stints in Indiana, 4 different eras and times of franchises. And that alone is very impressive. But the other part of it to me and why he got an extension this summer that makes him a great coach right this second is, one, he can do that. Obviously, you win 1,000 times, you're a good winner. He's also like gotten really good at development, I think, with the Pacers in this cycle, which has so many of the guys, granted, some of them they traded for and didn't draft, but they saw talent in, and Rick actualized it and made them good players and made this team what it is. That is what makes a coach elite to me, if they're good at both. And he has proven with this current group, albeit right now they're 6-18, to be very good at both. And that is how you have a long enough career and make your teams good enough to win 1,000 freaking games. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's an accident that Obi Toppin came here and was unlocked, right? And they maximized him and found the perfect role for him, and he fit perfectly. I don't think it's a coincidence that Aaron Nesmith became the player that he became here after being sort of a throw-in in that deal from Boston too. I think Carlisle deserves a lot of credit for that. I've liked the way that throughout his career, he has always been, a lot of the old school guys, not just like the Nate McMillan types where I'm going to do it my way, but the ones that have been closed off to analytics. Rick seems to have always embraced those and been like, okay, how can I use this data? How can I use this info to maximize what I'm doing or change my line of thinking or challenge my line of thinking? And, that's what the truly, the innovative coaches in all sports, that's what they do. They remain open-minded. And I think Rick has always remained open-minded throughout his career.
It's going to take a long, maybe not a long time. Like after Spoelstra, maybe Kerr, who knows how long he wants to coach, like it's going to be a while before another coach gets to 1,000 too. Like the way that teams have kind of figured out when to shift off of coaches is shorter than it used to be, I would say. I think you could probably speak better to that, but it feels like the lifespan of an unsuccessful coach is shorter. Eventually, Mark Daignault's going to have 10,000 wins in the NBA because the Thunder will just never lose another game. But outside of him, like Spo and Kerr are going to probably have a chance if they want to. Spo's already at 800. And then the next active coach, obviously Doc Rivers is well over 1,000, is Quinn Snyder and Mike Brown, like below 500. And they're great for a long time, both of those guys. Like getting 1,000 is so crazy. The last contextualized 1,000 I can give people is this. TJ McConnell is currently in year 11 with the Pacers. His teams have made the playoffs 5 times, and those teams' runs have equated to 62 playoff games. So TJ McConnell's full career plus playoffs is still not 1,000 games of total NBA. Like what? It's insane how long you have to be good to get to 1,000.
Yeah, and it's a testament to how good he's been. I'm glad he has the championship because some folks need that for the validation. I don't need that. He would have still been a Hall of Fame coach in my book, even if he didn't have it. But and to do it with multiple teams. I mean, he's won everywhere. He won in Detroit. He won here. He won in Dallas. He's one of the best to ever do it. No question.
3 of the coaches with 1,000 wins, those being Rick Adelman, George Karl, and Don Nelson, do not have a championship, right? Just because you win a lot of games does not guarantee that you will do that. Don Nelson never even won his conference, right? Like it's hard to do this in the NBA. There's obviously some legends who did it several times. Phil Jackson's numbers look hilarious, but Carlisle's also look hilarious because they're huge now. 1,000's going to be crazy. He will never celebrate himself or talk about himself, and I really respect that about him. I guarantee you Pacers players will have something cooked up if they beat the Sixers or Wizards over the weekend. One more break here, everybody. I got to tell you about Zocdoc. It's 2025, almost 2026. Those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously, and Zocdoc makes that easier than ever because staying healthy is more than just hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. It's easy to schedule things with Zocdoc for in-network doctors. You can book right in the app. Real appointment times are listed, including on the same day. No more back-and-forth phone calls. It's super helpful for routine checkups and those little issues. You can compare providers. It's simple to keep your health a priority. It's everything you'd want right there. And staying on top of your health on an app that makes it quick, clean, and removes the stress is the way to go. So stop putting your health and your doctor's appointments behind and get the care you need. Go to Zocdoc.com/LockedOnNBA and find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Zocdoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Derek, you just saw this team play in person. They beat the Kings. That's a thing that happened. I don't know what quality of win you want to call that. For 10 minutes of that game, they looked quite horrible. For the other 38, they looked pretty dang good. They won the game by 11 for a reason. And they are now 4-2 in their last 6 games. But that is intentionally phrased by me to ask you this. Those 4 wins are the Wizards of Washington, who have 2 wins, the Bulls, who have lost 7 in a row twice, and the Kings, who have the same record as the Pacers. So I'm not saying that to say that this is my answer, but I'm asking you. Do you feel like they're actually playing better? Is this a real thing? Is there an actual surge coming here? Or is this just they've played some crap and they are better than the worst of the worst?
Yeah, look, the Wizards stink. So you always kind of throw that whenever you have a sample size, you throw the Wizards right out of it. And the Bulls and Kings certainly aren't great. But what strikes me about this, and look, I know this was sandwiched in between 2 losses where they gave up
got
130 something to Cleveland and to Denver. But if you go back to last month right now, Tony, every time that they went out there, they were giving up 120, 125, 130, 135 points. Every single night, they were giving that up. So at the very least, what they've been doing here defensively, like, again, 86 points against the Wizards. Let's kind of throw that out as the outlier because it's the Wizards and they're the worst organization in professional sports in America.
You're excused.
The Bulls, 101. The Bulls, again, 105. The Kings, the Kings rallied all the way back in that game, but they were stuck on 103 for like 5 minutes, I feel like, in that game. Like, the Pacers slammed the door shut on them in the final 3, 4, 5 minutes of that game. And And it doesn't sound like much, but for a team that has only won 6 games this year, I've actually been pretty impressed in this stretch and what they've been able to kind of unlock a little bit defense. And, it helps that shots are starting to fall, right? Though, some of these early season things were just like
insane,
almost like flukish level, right? Where you're like, okay, this is going to correct at some point and get better just because it can't possibly stay this worse. But I think the defense has changed my mind about it. Now, the question is, who wants to see this sort of continue? Because, I'm not going to tell Pascal Siakam to do, to tank or to do anything like that. But, forecasting out here, if the Pacers were to go like 32-50, who does that help? What does that do?
Right.
Is that harmful? And I think the answer is, yes. For a season like this one, I don't want to see them go 32-50. I don't want to see them get clubbed over the head every night and give up $150 to the Jazz. I don't want to see like embarrassing level play like what we saw in November. But, I do think that this team is going to be good enough to beat the teams on their level, certainly good enough to consistently beat the teams below them. And I think you're going to see, far closer to, 450 level basketball over the closing couple of months of the season, barring any more injuries.
I think that's a very smart answer because, like, if they go 500 the rest of the way, they'll go, what would that be, 35-47?
Yeah.
No, they should.
Yeah,
I said before the
that.
season, the only bad thing is mid-30s. 40 plus, you're at least showing what this team can do on a competitive stage. 30 or lower, obviously, okay, draft is your priority, okay? Mid-30s, like, boo. You have done, when you win mid-30s in Tyrese Haliburton's first full year, great. You show that you are building up toward that. You don't need that. We know that you're really good. We got it. We saw it twice, right? So I agree with that. I do think that will be a big question, especially post Nesmith return. And I'll get to that part in a second. So I agree with you. There's 2 tracks here. One is, if you've watched them every night, I don't care who they're playing. They just look better, right? You can
you're right.
See it. Mm-hmm. And they lost. You mentioned Utah. It's like the perfect description. They lost to Brooklyn and Utah early in the season. There you go. They weren't beating the same level of bad team a month ago. That's one sign they're playing better. You can really especially you can just see it on defense. Like, they're actually getting real stops outside of, 6 minutes against the Nuggets here and 10 minutes against the Cavs there. I'd say, honestly, since Mathurin returned, they played that game in Detroit, and maybe not that game specifically, but they beat Charlotte in their next game, and they've pretty much been capable to good on both ends in a lot of ways since then, in a way that's been like, okay, yeah, they've lost a lot of these 2 close losses to Detroit where they could have tied it with a 3 and Siakam could have given them lead late in Toronto. Okay, like, they're very close in those games, and then they've obviously won 4 of 6. So I think it's both. I think that they have won 4 of 6 because they've played just awful teams, right? Just like sad, depressing NBA teams right now, but they are actually legitimately playing better. And now the question becomes, what does that mean? Which is what you just talked about. And I still think that they should want to learn a little bit about who fits in what role when Nesmith returns and like how it looks, so they can get to the trade deadline and go, okay, we feel good about this guy or bad about this guy, or this guy's trending in this direction or whatever. But at some point they have to pick that path. Or can they reach 40? If not, great. Okay. Guys, please bear with us. You have to understand what's at stake. It's just hard to do because 10 guys are going to be extension eligible next summer, and you don't want to know these guys are competitors. They don't want to go away, and you have to worry about your culture and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it's easier because you're going to be good next year, but I do agree with you that it's good to see them playing better. I think it's both reasons, but also it's like, okay, a little longer maybe, but maybe not too much. There's a right time to decide. And I'm very anti-tank, to be clear. They just started so bad. Like, not anti-tank for the Pacers. I mean, like, as a concept of sport, I hate it. But I'm also a reasonable person who understands what teams might be thinking about.
Yeah, and I think we could talk about what's best for the Pacers while also fully understanding that this coaching staff and the players would never subscribe to tanking, nor should they. You ask them. You should not ask after the blood, sweat, and tears that Pascal Siakam or Andrew Nembhard put into the runs of the past couple of years. You should never in your right mind ask them to be like, okay, guys, like, just lay down and punt this season. You have this finite time to be an NBA basketball player. I want you to just kind of quit on, you know what I mean? Like, of course, it's absolutely ridiculous, but Yeah, like there's no difference between winning 30 games and 20 games in the NBA. You're just it's bad. You're bad no matter
I'll
what.
say this too. I don't know when this date will come, but there will be a date where players know. Like, they're not idiots. They will go, oh God, we're 18 games out of 6th. Like, and it's February 1st. Like, dang, maybe apathy is the wrong word, but something sets in and your shoulders drop a little bit, and you just feel it. Like, you just see it around teams. It just happens, right? So maybe they'll win so much before then that it won't matter. This exact time of the calendar last year, they went from 10 and 15 to like, oh, they're just the best team. They just are going to beat everybody every game. I don't necessarily expect that turn. Okay, Derek, you do the Locked On Colts squad show. The Colts are funny, so I want to make this silly end topic for you. 44-year-old Philip Rivers. I saw videos of him throwing for the Colts. He made a funny joke about no Zoom. He's back. He was eligible for the Hall of Fame no longer because he's playing for the Indianapolis Colts, which is just awesome. Listen to Locked On Colts and listen to Derek on the squad show to hear more about that. They play the Seahawks this week. Perfect timing for a new old QB, a very, very good defensive team. Is there a Pacers equivalent of this? And I don't mean that has happened. I mean, who would be the Pacers equivalent if this did happen for them?
So this is tough to do, right? Because Rivers is a likely Hall of Fame player in my
He's very good. Yeah.
He was only here for a year. So, you'd have to find somebody that was kind of a 1-year rental. Now, this guy, I don't think was a Hall of Fame player, but was a very good player and a winner. And I think he aligns with Rivers age-wise. So I guess him coming back would be around the same one. But one that popped into my head, and I think he technically played 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, but Luis Scola was one that jumped into my head where I was just
that's a good one.
You brought him in, and the fans seemed to like him. He played well here. I think he was appreciated, and then he was on to the next thing. I think that gave me somewhat of Rivers vibes. The problem is that I couldn't really find I could only think of complementary pieces who I kind of liked who were here. And then I don't know why I just liked him from a personality standpoint. He was a great locker room quote. I love Wesley Matthews. He was here for 3 months or something like that, but he played pretty well over those 3 months. And that was the Pacers team that in 2019 closed the season pretty well. And, they looked like they were about to go on a run before they inevitably, ran into the first round issues that all of those Pacers teams did in that era. But he was another guy that I thought of too. Because the Boom Baby era, like the Reggie Davis brothers, Mark Jackson era contained so many holdovers. It was harder for me to kind of pick one out from back then. And plus that was a different NBA back then where teams and cores especially stayed together a lot longer than they do now.
Brad Miller from that era, maybe. He's not even in that era. He was the very end of it.
Yeah, okay.
That's not a good answer. So Alex Golden was the one who asked me this question when we learned the news of Philip Rivers during the Pacers game. And for some reason, my immediate instinct was let me think of players who were on the team when Rivers was on the Colts. And there's no good ones from that time, which is why my initial answers all sucked. And then Alex tweeted it, and Scott Agnes with a good reply. I thought this was a good answer. David West, I thought, was a pretty good one.
Okay. Yeah.
Multi-time All-Star who was with the Pacers for 4 years and was awesome. But he was very good. And he is exactly 45. So very, very fitting how that one worked. My answer maybe now is a guy who actually did finish his career with the Pacers, how Rivers did with the Colts, and is now, I cannot read a calendar very well. He is 41 now, so maybe a little too young, but 1 season of all NBA level play and top 10 and MVP finish. Never an All-Star, but still all NBA 1 time. Al Jefferson. The return of Big Sweet Al.
Okay, yeah.
That is my official submission for this question.
That's one that I missed. Yeah, I did not consider West because 4 seasons to me was too long.
Yeah, it was a little long. I thought it was a good answer though.
Yeah, no, but that type of everybody loved him and the teammates loved him, the fans loved him, the whole deal. That was the case with Rivers, but yeah, man. Al Jefferson, that's a great one. That's a deep cut too, a little bit, because at that point in his career, I mean, he was their last guy. He was like their James Johnson, pretty much, wasn't he?
No, I don't want to be mean. I mean, it's like some people could have beat him in a dead sprint up the court, who were in the crowd. He was so slow. He was so slow at the end. But he had just crafty stuff. I still have this video saved in my random Pacers clips folder on my desktop of him pulling this gorgeous spin move around Joel Embiid when Embiid was like a top 5 defender in the league. Like, he was just fun and crafty and was mentoring Miles Turner and Ike Anibogu and a bunch of random centers. It was a good time. So what I'm saying is he's coming back. If they cut Tony Bradley this season, Al Jefferson's coming back. That is clearly how this works. Right.
I mean, I think, as much as, we'll see what happens here in Seattle, and maybe I'll go back on my words. I do think that there is an actual chance that somebody 5 years removed can come in and physically at quarterback, if he's getting the ball out quick, just with the arm, can handle it. There's almost no situation where this would fly for an NBA athlete. I wouldn't think right. Like it's way more reliant on athleticism and all of that. And I just think somebody that tried to do this would just go out there and just die. Like everything would just explode.
Can I remind you of something that did in fact happen with the Pacers? This is not the same. Do you remember Damian Wilkins by chance and his brief with the Pacers? He was on the first year of Vic team on a completely non-guaranteed contract. This was 2017-18, and he played 19 games and he started once and he got cut mid-season. He had not played in the NBA for 5 seasons before that. And they were like, yeah, come on in. And I think he somehow knew maybe Nate McMillan from Seattle or something. I forget. He was just there to be a vet, but like out of nowhere, this guy was out of league for forever. And then, all right, here he is.
But Damian Wilkins certainly was playing basketball somewhere.
Yes, he was in the G League a few times doing things.
Yeah. Like, okay, so, he's keeping his body right, and he wasn't 40-something years old. Rivers is coaching his kids like high school games for the last 5 years, and then to jump back in there. But, we'll see. I mean, it's the Colts, man. It's Indianapolis sports. Like, it can't possibly get weirder, right? That's all that it is here. It's just omnipresent.
Great poll about if Rivers is weirder than Saturday, and I was like, man, no. The answer is no, but they're both just so bizarre.
The difference is that when I saw the Rivers report, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm not surprised that they made that call. When I saw the Saturday thing, like I thought, you're kidding, right? Like this isn't really happening. And then I don't know.
Here's the difference to me. Phillip Rivers had his presser today, and I was like, I'll watch it later. I want to see it, but I'll watch it later. The Saturday one happened during a Pacers game, and all of Media Row had it up. We were like, we have to watch this now. Like, I have to see this. How is this
when you talk about most awkward press conferences in Indianapolis sports history, here's poor Jeff Saturday smiling like, it's like a huge deal. He's about to be an NFL coach. I don't think they asked him anything. It was like Irsay the entire time, pounding the table, talking about how much football he knew, and then Ballard sitting there like this, like pounding in the corner. Oh man, like I would have loved to be in the room for that one. That's for sure.
I watched the whole thing. I felt bad. I texted James Boyd that night, and I was like, "Have fun, man."
Oh God, poor James, man. God, he can't.
I know.
He can't cover a normal beat.
Earlier this season, when the Colts were rolling, I said, "Finally, your first indie sports team you're on the beat of that's been good." This is my fault. Apparently, I jinxed it.
Did he have the Bjorgren year when he did the Pacers?
He had year one Carlisle.
Okay, but still, I mean, that was a team that was
traded away a bunch of guys. He had the first year of Ty, so like that's fun, but they were awful.
Okay.
20 whatever games. Yeah. So no, he did not have a good.
It'll happen. James is still young. James will someday have a non-weird sports season in Indianapolis to cover, I'm sure.
To be determined if that will ever actually happen. This Phillip Rivers part lasted just as long as I hoped it would, but we have gone well over time here, Derek. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Where I mentioned them earlier, but many people probably heard you on this network, but where can they find you in general for indie sports takes with a Z?
Yeah, so Jake Query and I do Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, every Tuesday night at 7:30. We stream it on YouTube and on ISC and Twitter and X and all that other stuff as well. IBJ, so every other week with Mark Monteith. So we kind of rotate back and forth on columns, so twice a month. And a lot of times we're talking Pacers, of course, especially going into the winter. We'll be doing that as well. And then Locked On Colts Squad Show Wednesday and Sundays. Tony hates when I plug the Purdue stuff, but I've got Golden Black Radio as well for Purdue basketball. Now that it's basketball season, no more football. We're not talking about football anymore. So we get to do that
I've
too.
enjoyed watching Purdue basketball. Braden Smith is a baller, man. It's fun.
And Matt Painter, I know you appreciate offensive geniuses, and man, that guy, when he's in his bag, It's pretty incredible.
I'm gonna lose points with my IU listeners, but I do in fact usually like when Purdue wins or is good when they don't play IU. I'm okay with that. Most of my friends are Purdue fans. I want them to be happy, and I like good basketball teams. And Purdue is always a good basketball team. So
yeah, and you still got your number one football Hoosiers to focus on too. So you got that going for you.
I did hear that they're ranked number one. I just found out.
Did you hear that? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a really weird weekend. I slept so bad because I had this crazy dream that they won the Big Ten in football. Something it's been hard to recover.
I got a lot of texts from friends that haven't kind of kept up with me in my personal life, and they're sending me like, "Congratulations, man! I'm so happy for you." And I'm like, "Yeah, like it's a great story, right?" Like I don't dislike IU, of course, but like I'm not the way that I was about IU, when they knew me, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So,
dude, the other embarrassing part is like I don't like football. Like they played Iowa in what's their stadium called? Kinnick. And it sucked. It was 10-10, like a million punts in a row. And I just turned it off.
Any game against Iowa sucks.
I turned it off. I tweeted. I said, "This sucks. They deserve to lose." And everyone's like, "You're a fake fan. You turn it off." I'm like, "No, this is boring. This is not fun for me. I don't want to do this."
I don't blame you, man. Some of those games when they're really good, against Iowa, it's not fun to watch. Big Ten football isn't always aesthetically pleasing. That's for sure. But Indiana's made it that way here when the Signetti.
I'll admit I'm a fake fan. If they ever suck again, you will not hear from me. But I will be super obnoxious right this second. Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in today. Tomorrow we'll get to part 2 of this NBA Cup mailbag, and then games are back over the weekend. Woohoo! So we'll have action to talk about once again. Perhaps Rick Carlisle earning said milestone we talked about earlier. Derek, thank you again for the time. Everybody, we'll see you very soon.